Welcome to At the Vines, the podcast that brings you inside the world of the vines, a global community of adventurers, storytellers, wine lovers, and winemakers. Through unforgettable experiences in the world's most iconic wine regions, our members connect with place, culture, and each other in ways that are both personal and profound. Each episode will introduce you to fascinating people, our members, our team, winemakers, and friends we've met along the way, and explore what inspires them to travel boldly, live fully, and craft wines that reflect their own unique stories. This week on At the Vines, I sit down with Heather Willens, our wine director for the Vines Global. Heather is one of the most knowledgeable people about wine I've ever met. She shares her journey from a fast-paced life as a corporate lawyer in New York to a passion-driven career in wine, a path shaped more by curiosity and community than by chasing ratings or prestige. We talk about her love for winemakers' stories, her belief that wine is all about personal experience, and the joy she finds in a simple glass shared in the right moment. Please enjoy this conversation with Heather. I am here with one of our amazing wine experts, Heather Willens. And so Heather, thank you. Welcome. We're here at my house in the Uco Valley, drinking Uco's Playground, our TSM. So let's get started. What was your first memorable experience with wine, and how has it shaped your wine journey?
Oh, excellent question. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to finally be here.
It's crazy that you haven't been here sooner.
I know. And we should give a little background because you're asking about my wine background, that I met you sort of in the, 20 years ago when we were both not at the beginning of our wine careers, but
Pretty close.
youngins in the biz, let's say, in different parts of the biz. But yes, I come from a totally different background, from a law background.
Certainly spending a lot of time with lawyers makes me want to drink, so exactly. I could appreciate that.
There's a lot of drinkers in that business, so you can see why. But one silver lining of all that was that at a bunch of these sort of closing dinners that we had for some of these deals that I worked on in New York, especially, I got to taste some wines that I had never experienced before that. I went to college or in the Bay Area, so I had tried sort of the Napa, the ones that were at my local supermarket, Napa cabs and shards, and that was my limited experience, which I thought I liked. But then with them, we went to nice French restaurants and opened incredible bottles of wine. And I was bit by the bug from then on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was wine a big deal around your family table growing up, or?
No, I am a complete black sheep in my family.
In so many ways.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know where I came from, which family I really was switched with. But no, my parents don't drink at all. My mom did like wine as she got a little older, but more of the Trader Joe's variety, more as kind of a, after work kind of drink. So there was no culture of wine or learning about wine or anything. So I was completely self-taught. I say self-taught, but then I actually did take a course. I went, and after being a lawyer, I asked someone, how could I possibly get into the wine business? And found a really great shop to work first in New York, and then worked for an importer of French wine and a distributor. Everybody has to start in sales.
So you quit being a lawyer and jumped from being a corporate lawyer into literally working at a wine shop.
Yes, for $10 an hour.
That had to be a slight economic change.
A slight hit, yes, let's say.
But you probably drank better wines because you had no income, but you had good access.
Exactly. We got to taste the distributor's sales people, which I later ended up being, would come through with their wine bags and open 10 great bottles of wine. This was one of the best shops in New York.
Which one? You can name check it.
The Chelsea. Well, actually, it's fallen into disgrace as of late. They were one of those Sherry Lehman that sort of ended up stealing their customers' wine. So
we'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole other podcast. But at the time, there was this great manager, and he let all of us that were working there, from the people that were just, sweeping the floors to his top wine director, taste every single bottle that came through the door. So that was kind of my family, getting back to your question, as far as where I was raised around the culture of wine was with him first, and then the importer that I ended up working for was a big mentor of mine.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I was going to ask you, because I mean, you have an incredibly deep and broad knowledge of wine. It's
Oh,
it's
thank
really
you.
impressive, and you're the person I send a picture of the wine list and say, what should I get at this restaurant very, very often, and you're amazing at selecting it. But so other than like reps and years and time, how do you do it? I mean, you certainly learned a lot early on, but like
Yeah.
you keep up. It's not like all your knowledge was 20 years ago when you first got in the biz.
Yeah. I mean, I did learn from that importer whom I worked for, one of the greats of the business, especially of the Burgundy business.
Who is this?
Daniel Jonas.
Oh yeah.
And he now has sort of semi-retired from the importing business and does the La Poulet event and other related events around New York and other places. But what he taught me, he is by far the greatest blind taster I've ever met. And what he taught me though was he has not had a day of education, not one class, nothing has he ever taken. But when you go to Burgundy and you taste with him, you visit producers that he brings in and they let you taste their barrel of the year. And he just the love and the curiosity that he has for the wine is what rubbed off on me. It was contagious. You couldn't help it.
Now, is it for him and for you? I guess is it the wine in and of itself? Is it terroir? Is it all of it? Is it the winemakers? What's the kind of draw?
For me, it's all of that. But I have to say, for me and for him, I did notice as well. It's the relationship with the people, whether it be the winemaker, here you have a lot of agronomists. Those are important people here generally.
Here in Mendoza.
Yes, here in Mendoza and Argentina in general.
Are they less important in other parts of the world?
Yeah, they're not separate people in other parts of the world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. This was when I first came to Argentina, I was surprised to hear that there was this whole other degree in training. Do
you think I'm trying to guess why it might be. And it could be that the vineyards here are so much bigger than other parts of the world. So like it would be impossible for, Alejandro Vigil from Catena probably to visit the thousands of vineyards they have around Mendoza.
That's probably right. I think it's larger scale. Although in California, I'm trying to think, I don't really think that they have the same thing. I just think here, which is one of the beautiful things about here in Argentina, they take that part of it very seriously, which they do in Burgundy too. But as you say, it's less than a hectare of vines that the same guy is tending with his family and then making the wine. And I do notice here even there's starting to be a convergence, like that person is turning into the same person now.
Interesting.
This is not for wine snobs or people who swirl their glass just so. The Vines is for anyone who thinks that travel should come with better food, better wine, and way better conversations. You'll meet chefs and winemakers and people you'll still be texting with months after the trip. Want to see what we're about? Head to @TheVines Winemakers on Instagram.
What opinion about wine do you have that many people might disagree with?
Well, it's interesting. We've been here at the Vines doing this really great educational program where even I have learned so much from Mariano Onofre, or your wine director here
She's
at Vines
amazing.
Mendoza. She knows, her body of knowledge is just incredible. And so I've learned a lot about myself too, which is always important in the wine world, as you know, to have an open mind, keep learning. And I guess I've known this about myself, but it came into clearer focus this week, that I really love, like I'll drink the wine on the airplane just to see what it's like. I mean, I may hate it and I may not finish the glass, probably not. But I love my Vinho Verdes in Portugal, and I don't mean the serious ones. I'll drink, and not just to drink, but to actually experience it with the seafood. There's a sort of a $5 Vinho Verde that's just extremely common called Casal Garcia in Portugal. just a simple lemonade-y Vinho Verde. And I'm happy if it's the right situation. And I can't say that to some of my Burgundy friends.
Right. There's certain people that only can have extraordinary wines. They wouldn't even consider trying a wine on a plane.
But I feel sorry for them.
They're missing out for sure. Especially things like that go so well with certain things. I mean, you go on a little side, roadside place in France, and they've got table wine, and it's extraordinary.
Delicious.
And it goes with just exactly the chicken they bring out of the back.
Exactly.
Is there something you used to believe about wine that you've since changed your mind, or the wine business?
That's a really good question. I guess I used to believe, I mean, a little bit goes hand in hand with what I just said. I used to get a little more caught up in the fact of, that these are good wines, these are bad wines. And also that in order to decide those and make those decisions, you had to know a lot of technical stuff about the wine. How many months in barrel, and is it gravity or not? And we talked a little bit last night. Is it harvested into 20 kilogram boxes? And I used to think all of that I had to ask those questions. Now, I guess as I've gotten a little older and maybe just more relaxed about other things too, I feel like I sniff the glass and I think, do I like that? Is my first impression, yes, that's a good wine. Then I'm not going to listen to the noise around, and I'm just going to drink that wine.
Yeah, and I find the same way. Like I don't want to know, especially early on, because it does influence what I'm gonna drink. Just like as it is the difference between tasting blind or with a label.
Exactly.
And after I might have some, especially if it's a wine I really like, I might say, well, this is so interesting. We had a couple wines this week from Malbecs, and I've been kind of cold on Malbecs the last few years, despite living in Mendoza. And these two winemakers we had were the wines were extraordinary.
Delicious.
And so I did want to find out what they were doing differently, because they're clearly doing something differently and special.
Right.
All right. Quick round of overrated and underrated.
Oh.
Natural wines. Overrated, underrated.
Misunderstood, I'm going to say.
Misunderstood.
Sorry to be complicated.
I knew that was what you were going to say.
You knew I couldn't answer straight.
Why is it misunderstood?
Because I think, like many things in life, they're not necessarily one thing or the other. You can't say all natural wines are this or that, therefore overrated or underrated. People don't know. First of all, we don't know what natural wine is. There aren't any yet set regulations. There's a set of kind of winemaking rules that are understood to be the definition, but we don't have a definition from a wine body like we do.
Yeah,
with
and a lot of, some people say natural wines and they're thinking skin contact, fizzy, funky, all of these things.
Yeah.
Other people like Giacomo Neri are going to say natural wines is, I don't mess with it.
Exactly.
Right?
Non-interventionist to the extreme.
But somebody like that, if you asked a quote, millennial wine drinker that loves natural wines, they would never believe that Casanova Neri is a natural wine.
Yes. So I'm going to say not rated correctly
rated correctly. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. The debate continues.
Where that goes.
It's probably the biggest debate we have on our weekly calls, especially when you and John get on and Marie jumps in. Wine ratings and scores, overrated or underrated?
Totally overrated.
Agree completely.
Yeah. I mean, one, because they can be influenced. They're not tasted blind. They're all the way ranging up to some people pay for good scores, I feel like, or advertise in the magazine or.
I think it's also changed in that at one point, if you liked big, heavy, extracted Napa style wines, Robert Parker wines, if you will, and if he gave a wine a high score, you would probably like that. That's kind of how it started.
Yes.
But now they're all over the place, and there isn't a necessarily. I mean, some are more credible than others, I think. But I don't find them. I find them way overrated as well.
Exactly.
Traditional pairing, like red wine with meat or white with fish, overrated or underrated?
I think correctly rated. I mean, they're within the red spectrum. I feel like that's the one where there's less room to play. The whites, I mean, you could just do so many things in the white world, including pairing burgers with champagne, or you can go err on the side with red meat. You could do some surprising things with white wines, less so with red wines. But I think obviously a Malbec with tons of 2 years in new oak is not going to pair well with a fish. So. Right. I think there are some guidelines to sort of follow,
but don't go crazy about it.
Yeah, you can have a little fun.
Right. Champagne for breakfast, overrated or underrated?
Of course, underrated. How could I answer differently? I do that 3 times a week.
What could be better? So at the Vines, you play a lot of roles in addition to kind of being one of our amazing wine experts, but you also work on our communications, and you spend a lot of time working both with our winemakers and our members to develop their labels, to get their wines shipped to them. What would you, and you've worked with a lot of us on labels. Any tips you can share about things that work or things that you don't, maybe how a member gets frustrated in the process, or what makes the smooth process of developing your label and getting it on a bottle?
Yeah, I guess we have a very handy label design brief that we ask people to fill out. Not a lot of people would like to take, 20 minutes to fill that out, but the purpose of it is to give us as clear of an idea as possible of what is your, not goal is too utilitarian, but sort of feeling toward this wine. Was it a special one? We had one member who came to Champagne on his honeymoon and with his partner, and that was the champagne they made. So it was extremely special to him and sentimental. In that case, we like to know, do you want some of that story on the back label? Basically just giving us the feeling of how this is important to you and how you would like that portrayed on the feeling and on the label. And back label text can actually really convey a lot. I think you on your Coincidir Priorat label, I really liked both your front label, which was a group of friends and people of importance to you in your life, including your dog Uko, rest in peace, and a couple members and friends of yours there on the front label, gathered in a vineyard and drawn in a way that felt sort of homey and retro. And to me, that was a perfect example. I'm not just because you're here with me, but because it was a perfect example of summing up exactly what you wanted to convey. And then the back label text explained it a bit further.
If your idea of a wine trip is a tour bus and a gift shop, we're probably not for you. But if you want to blend your own barrel and eat pizza at midnight with a winemaker and stay in places you'll never forget, that's kind of our thing. We're the Vines, and we make wine travel personal, hands-on, and honestly, a lot more fun. Come hang out with us on Instagram at the Vines Winemakers.
So you've made wines, actually before we met almost 20 years ago. You made and sold some wines from Salta. And I know you don't make that many wines, but you taste a lot of wines, and you blend some wines as well. Anything that you take from your background as a lawyer, or even as what people may not know about you as a professional tennis player, that resonates or connects with you in the wine world, either when you're blending or just as you're enjoying wine?
That's a very interesting question. I would say the tennis player aspect probably only comes in that I always want to win. So I want to make the best blend possible, better than everybody else there. But the lawyer brain comes in a lot more, and I think that's one reason why it's a logical transition. And actually, there are a bunch of lawyers, at least as collectors, but even in the wine business, there are a lot of lawyers, because it's this sort of logical way of distilling down a larger issue. You start not really knowing anything where you're going to go. You just know all the moving pieces. And then as you go, you try, you investigate, it's just a lot of sensory taking in, observing, being curious, and then you boil it down to something that you feel is the best possible product.
I like that. Reminding of your tennis career reminds me of my one of my favorite quotes quotations that you taught me from your dad, which was, "It's all on the scoreboard," which I love. I am certain that my team hates it.
Yes, but it's very annoying.
It is certainly annoying, but it's also pretty magical.
Very true.
It's also true.
And it's all on the scoreboard with your blend. You can use it in many situations, including your blend.
Absolutely. Anything other than tennis that might surprise us that you're passionate about outside of wine?
Excellent question. I'm surprised by that one. Well, I think you and I share it. This is actually a new thing for me and very surprising, but I'm going to have to put in a little plug for what you've done here in connection with this, which is I am a new-ish dog owner. I have a 4-year-old dog, and I thought I hated dogs. Oscar, the Wiener Schnitzel, and I thought I didn't like dogs my whole life. We had dogs, but I never paid one shred of attention to them. And then when I got my own dog, I just became completely passionate, not only about him and dogs in general, but about all animals. I said it awoke something in me. And here, the plug that I'm putting in is that this refugio for the dogs that you've created, the dog shelter, who brings them in, takes care of their health needs, neuters and spays them, and gives them vaccinations. We went and petted them the other day through the fence, awesome. Even. But that just something about animals to me is just the purest world and the purest love you'll ever have.
Yeah, you go there for 5 minutes and you could be in the worst mood in the world and it's impossible. Exactly. Like even as you're walking up and like the dogs just like run towards the gate and you just hear that song, "Who let the dogs out?" in your background as you're walking up there, and they're just, they couldn't be happier.
Yes.
If you could host a dinner for 4 people, living or dead, no family members, who would it be and what wine would you serve, or wines if you got a couple?
Oh, this is a tough one. Oh my goodness. I have to think for a second on that one. I think I'm going to flip that on its head on the wine. What I would say, everybody bring something a little bit like what we're doing tonight. Each person bring one thing one wine that you feel sort of represents you as a person, or an experience you have, or a place you live, so that we can all we don't need to taste blind even, but just taste what people are really feeling. And then I think I would have to serve, as they walked in, serve Krug champagne, as I've told you before. It just does it for me.
And can you tell something about a person by the wine they bring?
Definitely. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit colored because they think, oh, well, she's in the wine business, I can't bring something bad. And I always tell them, don't do that when you come to my house. Bring something that
you love.
Yeah, or that you had a story, even from the guy who was working at the wine shop, guy or girl, just bring something that means something to you. I might say, you bring a white, you bring a red, whatever,
right.
or what's going with the food. But I think that's more representative. And then 4 people. Oh, that's
2, 3, 4, whatever you got.
Okay. Living or dead. Well, there's a winemaker who I have to have one winemaker there, of course. There's a winemaker from Meursault who we actually did import when I worked for the guy in New York. And his name's Dominique Lafon. And he makes some of the greatest white Burgundies I've ever had. And he's very famous now and known. But he is so entertaining to talk to, as well as doesn't care at all about any of the conventions of the wine world. So he'll tell you, everything he thinks, yet he's making these incredible wines. And then I think another person that I've always wanted to have a dinner with, and this would probably be a common answer for you, is Winston Churchill.
Interesting.
I just love his attitude. I guess I'm seeing a theme here, that I like these people who don't care.
So you're going to throw John McEnroe in there?
That would be fabulous. Who else? There's some characters. There's a woman, Althea Gibson, who played tennis. Like, she was of our generation, but the young people have no idea who that is. They think Venus and Serena were the first Black tennis players.
She paved the way. She and Arthur Ashe.
She and Arthur Ashe, who played doubles with my mom in a whole other story. My mom played doubles with Arthur Ashe. Mixed doubles, obviously.
That's fabulous.
Yes. Those type of people, those sports figures that were groundbreaking. And so I guess I'm, again, seeing this theme of, I like groundbreakers who really buck convention and go against the grain.
That's awesome. All right. We're going to finish up here with a lightning round.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have one superpower related to wine, what would it be?
Blind tasting.
Blind tasting. Yeah. You say you say you're not very good at it. I'm not sure I believe it, but you say it. Okay. If stranded on a desert island, what wine and food would you want with you?
Ooh.
Is it going to be Krug again?
No, German Riesling.
German Riesling.
Because there's just so many different. Within German Riesling, you just said wine. You didn't say which wine exactly.
Well, if you've got a specific, give it up.
Egon Müller.
Oh, yeah.
White Trocken. Doesn't even have to be high level, just Trocken Riesling.
That's the great thing about Riesling. It doesn't, even the high level stuff, most of it, I mean, the really high level comes expensive, but the medium level stuff, it's so cheap relative to other stuff.
That's great with the Thai food that I would also have on my
I like that.
desert island.
Do you have a go-to wine that's under $50 or so?
Oh, under 50 bucks. I'm embarrassed
this
to say.
This is an important piece about Heather. Heather has drank many of the world's greatest wines, but she's also, I wouldn't say that you're cheap, but you are very value driven when it comes to wine. You're very reluctant to pay a lot of money for wine. And I think it's partly because you have learned that you don't have to spend a lot of money have an extraordinary wine. So something that's an inexpensive wine that it's a go-to for you.
I love, since I'm living in Portugal, I need to make a little plug for Portugal. And actually, I'll do two plugs. One is Luis Seabra is a guy in Portugal who we actually, with the vines, do some work with when we'll blend with him on some of our trips to Portugal. And he makes these whites and reds, but I really like his white, Xisto Ilimitado. And it's a blend of Rabigato and other white
and other Portuguese grapes that are unpronounceable by
that's
mortals.
Part of the problem. And they're just very Burgundian. And then so you think, you swirl it around, taste it, you think, this must be, as you said, 50. And it might be around 20, which for me is high.
And super complex.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And another one is one that you actually mentioned and turned me on to recently. I love Canary Islands wines in Spain. And you had one called Trenzado, which I actually saw that might be 22 now or something. But they make a white and a red from Canary Islands, have pretty much only indigenous grapes. And you'll just get so much interest in your glass for around $20.
Those are great tips. All right, last question. Any tips for a new member? We're growing pretty quickly and we're getting a lot of new members. So when somebody joins the Vines, any recommendations or tips for them?
Yes. I would say sit down with me or Francis, or I'm sure you'll be talking to some other people on our team to find out what are our favorite trips and where are we going that year, and what are the wines that you would make in those places. Because I think sometimes people join and they may not know, you do go to South Africa or Champagne. I can make a champagne, and we can tell you about the winemakers and the exact wines you'd be making. And I think it's super exciting.
Oh, that's great advice. Well, Heather, thank you so much. I am so grateful and appreciative of you as part of the Vines and delivering this amazing experience. But much more importantly is you're one of my dearest friends. And I'm so grateful for having you in my life. And thanks for spending this time with us.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to you too, Michael. Uko's Playground, we're drinking GSM. Cheers.